last lecture of the year. This week we're going to do karyotypes and pedigrees. So first we need to look at chromosomes, and let's remember this is all review. Chromosomes in human bodies, we have 46 chromosomes in our somatic cells. Those are our body cells, right? We have them in 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes, one from mom, one from dad. This is referred to as a diploid or 2N, and is just the number of pairs, and 2 means there's a pair of them. Human sex cells, okay, so sperm and egg, only have 23 chromosomes, and we know that because 23 and 23 combine together to give us our 46, okay? Sex cells don't have pairs, so they're just considered haploid or half, and just have N number of chromosomes. So they have the 23, whereas diploid is 2N, which is the 46. When we talk about our chromosome types here, we have the fact that an organism's genome, right, is what we call all of their chromosomes all together. It's the complete set of genes or genetic material in a cell or an organism, because a cell can be an organism. Right, in humans, we have 44 autosomes and 2 sex chromosomes. We learned about that last week, right? The sex chromosomes are the X and Y. Females are XX, males are XY. The sex chromosomes determine the sex of an organism. The autosomes, or the rest of the chromosomes, determine all the other genes, right? And we have a picture of those on the side here. So if a trait is considered autosomal, that means it's on the non-sex chromosomes. And then if it's X-linked or sex-linked, it's on the sex chromosomes. Again, all review. A karyotype is actually a diagram, and there's a picture of one right here, is a diagram that allows you to line the chromosomes up from largest to smallest in pairs so that you can see if there is a disorder, right? So what you're looking for is there to be more chromosomes than just 2 in each of those pairs, right? This one that we have a picture of is fine because everyone has 2, other than the bottom 2. The bottom 2 are our sex chromosomes, where we have a single X. Right, so let me circle those for you. These ones, we have an X right here, right, and then next to it we have the smaller Y, right? So it just shows that the chromosomes are grouped together in pairs. We can see that there's no extras. A karyotype is going to show all of the chromosomes for a human, so what chromosomes are in one of the cells. Right. Next is pedigrees. So pedigrees are a family record, or a way to show how a trait travels through a family. Right. It's used to study the transmission of specific conditions. So next we're going to look at pedigrees a little more closely. So when we look at pedigrees, a circle represents a female, a square is a male. All right. Darkened or shaded represents that they have the trait, whatever the trait may be. Okay. A line that goes across, see it's just highlighted green, this one, represents a breeding pair, meaning it's a man and woman that had sex and had offspring, or male and female rabbits, whatever you want it to be, right? So that's a breeding pair. The perpendicular line that drops from the next one, that one that is colored in blue, this one, this represents offspring of a pair. All right, the offspring are going to be organized from oldest on the left to youngest on the right. All right, and then so in this one, the pair had 4 offspring, 2 boys, 2 girls. Just remember that affected doesn't mean that they're sick. It doesn't mean something bad. It just means that they have the trait. The trait could be freckles. Like, it's all right. So next we're going to try to label a pedigree. So first you have to tell if a trait is sex-linked or autosomal. So if it's autosomal, it'll be present in both males and females equally, or close to equally, right? If it's sex-linked, you're really going to see it mostly in males, right? And males won't pass it to their sons, okay? So you'll see it in males, and the males aren't going to pass it to their sons. So sex-linked versus autosomal can't always be confirmed, but you can use these as a guide. Does that make sense? If you're ever taking this on a test, most of the time they tell you. So to figure out if a trait is dominant or recessive, we're going to look at these 2 charts. So if you have 2 parents that have a trait and an offspring that does not, right, this trait is dominant because they must be like a big R, a little r, and a big R and a little r. So then this kid is little r, and they don't have the trait. So that makes the trait dominant. Same situation over here, just opposite. We're still looking at heterozygous, right? And down here, you have your homozygous recessive, but this time that's the trait, so that trait must be recessive. Okay? So the hanging down one is always the recessive one. So on this one, what type of inheritance does this pedigree show us? So I have two parents here who are affected, okay, because I just looked at this chart up here. I don't know why I have blue ones in there, but the red means affected. So two parents that have the trait, one that doesn't. So that means that not having the trait is recessive, so the trait has to be dominant. I have this here, okay, so look around, right? Two parents that don't have it, a kid that does, the kid is recessive, so that means the trait's recessive. This one, notice who it's in. Both are boys. Two parents that don't have it, right? A kid who has it, that means the kid is sex-linked recessive. This is my third time doing this slide. This slide's killing me for some reason. So let's look at it one more time. So we're going to interpret pedigree. We know it's autosomal dominant. All right. So since it's dominant, all of the unshaded ones have to be homozygous recessive. I filled them in. Okay. And now, if they're homozygous recessive, we know that all of the shaded ones have to have at least one dominant letter. Okay. I can look at this and tell other things from this. So if I know that this has to have one dominant letter, I'm going to write a big A here, right? What's the little a? I mean, what has to go right there? If this is their kid, they got one little a from that guy. They have to get one little a from this one. So I know this has to be a little a. Makes sense? I can look at this one. This has to have a dominant letter, right? I don't know what's next. Well, if I look at the parent, it only has two little a's. So the parent had to have given them a little a. Or if I look at their kid, they have a kid who's homozygous recessive. So they had to have a little a to give to their kid, right? You can go back and forth with it and figure out different things once you know. And I told you it was autosomal dominant, all right? So next one, let's look at this one. What's the genotype of individual 1? So if this is sex-linked, all right, it's telling me it's sex-linked, right? What's that person's genotype? We know it's lady, so it's going to be X, X. We know by looking at them, they don't have the trait because they're not shaded in. This blue person is shaded in, so I'm going to give them a big R because they don't have the trait. What is this X going to have on it? Right? Well, let's look around. We have dad here, and we have this kid who has it. Well, dad gave this kid the Y, because dads always give the Y. Who gave this kid the X with the little R? Had to have come from mom. So we'll give her a little R there, right? So it's a little bit of logical thinking to figure these out.